Governor Rick Scott has a bullseye on his back tonight. He's taking shots from both parties, upset that he turned down more than $2.4 billion in federal funding for a high-speed rail system. So if the rail is not going to run, what will Florida's transportation future look like? Jeff Butera has an in-depth look at that. Good evening, Jeff.
Good evening, Brendan. And there are a lot of potential choices out there. Public transportation, building more highways, building upward, essentially double-deck highways, or making people pay to drive the most cluttered roads. A lot of other options after the governor took one off the table yesterday.
Governor Rick Scott was worried.
I believe the risk far outweighs the benefits.
Despite the federal government giving the state $2.4 billion, which would cover the projected costs of a high-speed rail line from Orlando to Tampa, Scott was concerned the project would ultimately cost way more than that, putting state taxpayers on the hook.
I think it's a great victory for the taxpayer.
Sharon Calvert helped start the Tampa Tea Party and thinks Scott is right about the risk to taxpayers. Plus,
we believe also that rail is not the answer to our traffic and transportation and congestion problems.
So what is? Because there is a consensus our state's current highway system won't be able to withstand growth over the next 25 to 30 years.
You can see that the congestion is going to increase over time.
Steve Reich is the interim director of USF's Center for Urban Transportation Research. He believes high-speed rail would have only been part of a long-term solution anyway. He thinks double-decking our roads, like the Selman Expressway, for example, would be too expensive. So his best alternative solution...
I think that the future, with or without high-speed rail, is going to involve some sort of pricing.
Meaning drivers would pay for the privilege of driving interstates during peak times, decreasing congestion.
Now, Reich says there are a number of factors to consider when thinking about alternative plans. Of course, some of those would be cost and what would be most efficient, but also what kind of impact it would have on the environment. He's concerned about continuing to burn fuel the way we currently do.